Welcome to our first LinkedIn live session. And for all those listening in, let me inform you that this is going to be a quick peek into the world of micro content monetization, and this time through our innermost circle. Of course, we are planning a deeper session in the next few days, but as of today, we have a special treat with our founders, the very first believers of micro. Now, the traditional media industry, including creators and creative businesses, are vying for attention in this digital age. And there's subscriber fatigue. We're talking about vanity metrics like follower count, engagement metrics, and with the number of creative businesses, creative individuals, creator communities, uh, this isn't enough. We need something more, and we need something for the future, especially to build new revenue opportunities for monetization. And at the steering this space have been Vignesh and Madan Karki, with Canvas Space. And we are going to be talking a little bit more about what went behind the thought process of micro and a few insights into the fascinating world of micro content monetization. Why don't we begin with you, Madan? And since you have seen the creative industry so closely, been a creator yourself, dealt with multiple creative communities, be it the audio community, the visual, audio visual community, um, the publication community. With a rise in creator economy, clearly traditional revenue streams are not enough. What led you to think about a non-traditional revenue channel, the one that we are talking about for the creative community?
So thanks, Yashika, for setting the stage. Um, so lovely question. So the stage for say the creative monetization, content monetization, and create that all comes later. What we my thing was like how creators are today. The modern creators, we actually have uh, the process of creativity. If we just go and look back, we had so many different exciting people in the past. A person like Da Vinci excites me whenever I read about him. He's not a single type of creator. He's a multi-creator. He creates multiple things. He paints, he does sculpting, he does designs, engineering drawings, and so many different things he does at the same time. So I he inspires me a lot. Most of his works. When I started working on, I wanted to create in multiple fields. I wanted to be writing lyrics. I wanted to do dialogues. I wanted to create new recipes. I wanted to do photography and publish my photography in a nice place like a photographic exhibition. So many different ideas, so many different things. But the thought was something, capturing something new, creating something new. Um, when I met Vignesh a long time back, so we were actually talking about all these things. Like, I have one stream of my creativity, I have something set. For all my other streams, I need, if it'd be really awesome to have something where I can publish something that I sketch, something that I a kind of a sequence which I movie sequence which I write, whatever form of creativity which I create. It'd be amazing to have a place where we can monetize this. So this was the first kind of a discussion that me and Vignesh had. Vignesh had come up with a strong technical platform, something called Turtle, and he was just working with it. And when I told him about these things we need a platform like this for creators where whenever they want to and however they want to monetize, there should be one place where they can do it. They don't have to go for videos to one place, audio to one place, and things. So bring everything to one place for one creator who wants to create multiple things here, or even a creator who just focuses on one type of creativity can choose different types of monetization for different types of creations. So that was the idea with which it started.
This is an interesting thought process, and when you say this, just takes me back to the time when Vignesh and I, and just like you mentioned about his initial startups, and how passionately he's been creating for the creative community. At this point in time, before we move ahead, let's also welcome Sai Baba. Hey Sai, nice to have you around as well. One of our initial and key believers, another interesting
Hey, thank
individual
you.
within the creative community.
Hi, Sai
Thank you.
Baba. Happy to meet you here.
Hi, Madan. Hi, Vignesh. Hi. Thank you for having me on live right now.
Pleasure,
I think
pleasure.
this is our first live as well. So we thought that we'll just have an base conversation today, and then have the micro session next week with everyone. That's what we're thinking.
Lovely. So, as I was saying, and just like Karki just mentioned, Vignesh, you have been, and I think, having known you for so long, you have been within the uh, working with creator communities, with creative individuals, multiple different kinds of varied kind of creative individuals, and especially now, in the last couple of years, building the micro technology from scratch. What led you to really find this idea and feel that this could open up revenue opportunities for the creative businesses, the upcoming creative businesses?
So I think, Rishika, first of all, thank you. And as Madan was saying, there was years back with Tartle, it was more like for people who are listening in, it is Patreon on steroids. So it's basically with a community feature on it. And I think it was around 2016, end of 2016, we started building that. And but till the onset of COVID, there was no platform like that in India at that juncture. So it was very interesting journey to meet people like Madan during that product building phase of Tartle. And at the same time, the market was very difficult to get in. The consumers were not ready to pay in India. Let's say from 2017 till now, it has been very interesting to see how consumer mindset have changed, how creators have evolved from, let's say, just creating to influencing to multiple divisions of their identity as creators itself have changed over the last what do you call 6 7 years now. And so with all of that, I think the challenge which hit after COVID, when I was talking to Madan, was the same. Hey, a lot of ideas were coming in India, which was similar to what Tartle was doing, which was similar to what Patreon was doing, and again, it was getting into subscription model.
Yeah.
And that's when, me and Madan, we were discussing, okay, we are not going to subscribe to everyone. Let's say as a consumer, we are not going to subscribe to everyone, so we can't expect people to subscribe to a writing of mine just like that. Or let's say, even though someone, a subculture defining creator like Madan, putting it out, maybe for him there'll be some followers who are very specific of love his work, who would buy his content. But how to make sure that there is something where people are overly excited by whoever the creator is, the high points, or let's say how can we give that overall thought process around power to the creator centric, creator first. I think that was the thought process which initially we had. Just to touch upon, I think what do you call, over 2010 is when I started my first startup, and I think it's now what, 13 14 years now of building one idea after the other. And so that has been a journey of 14 years of journey where I've seen the startup ecosystem, the creative ecosystem up close. And that way, the hypothesis of building Canvas initially was a platform. So we didn't want to fall into the creator economy space where like Patreon, a Gumroad, or platforms which are there, the OnlyFans, where everything is revolving around subscription. So we didn't want to disrupt the subscription angle by building one more subscription platform. We didn't want to get into the social discovery, which is the Facebook, the Meta, all of them, what they're trying to do. So that is one area where we know for a fact that they would want to get into a subscription angle, or creator monetization angle. They would surely get into. And as you can see, over the last 1 year or so, how Twitter or X has added a lot of creator features, to Meta exploring over the last couple of years on creator features. So I think that is the natural evolution of that side. And then we were also aware about the skill-based, the curation side of things, where you had the Upwork of the world, the Behance, the Dribble, where they were focusing more like a portfolio, more like a showcase of creators and their work. So there, the ideal next step is to enhance that. So that is also something which we are aware of. And finally, the tools which we are looking into, which is like the Canva, the canvas of the world, where you had anything you want to create the process that is made simplified. So we thought that maybe we can get into the tool space first, build something, a tool where they can monetize anything they want in whatever format they want, in any content they want. It could be the micro meaning, it could be uh, let's say a who done it story where the killer's name can be locked, or it could be interesting photograph with some pixels could be blurred. So that thought process is what we felt which could kind of bridge, our technology could kind of exist very coherently with all the four segments of this creative industry. And with that we started building Canvas. And I think that's the evolution of how we stumbled upon micro and a new non-traditional revenue channel. I think the non-traditional side of thing came in after talking to so many people, people from Comcast to iHeart to the kind of companies we have been talking to over the last year and a half. I think that kind of and again, in India, this is in the US, I've been talking, I'm in the same way, in India, we've been talking to some of the finest creative communities and organizations through Madan. And with all of this, we stumbled upon that, hey, this is a very interesting idea. This is, we didn't think like this. So this surely is not disrupting our, the ads or our subscription revenue. So wherever there is a what do you call challenge, or wherever there is a what do you call churn from people who are not subscribing to a content, this is just a new option. So why don't we try it? And I think that's the non-traditional side of things which we are looking at right now as the micro content monetization.
This is when we talk about, like you said, that there are multiple creative individuals who think like, enough of subscription model and what can we do. I think that there is a part of me as a creative professional, a podcast professional. At one point in time, this is a question that each and every creative individual asks themselves, is that what next, what can be the next revenue opportunity for me. And it particularly intrigued me when we first spoke about it, and of course we've spoken about it at length. But Vignesh, will dwell on this a little bit more from a technology point of view. Let's talk about creative businesses and communities, and how this technology can actually power their community or power their creative business. Let's talk from a simple use case scenario: a journalism, a product publication, an online publication, a digital publication. Um, from a consumer's point of view, I read a wonderful article on HBR, and after three articles, I'm asked to subscribe. And my understanding is that this will allow me to read exactly what I want and when I want and where I want. Let's turn the table from a creator or a creative business's perspective. How does it work for an HBR for that matter?
I think from a technology perspective, we have tried to make it very the one side of things. I think I will let Madan talk about, which is the creative side and how it could be used. But from a pure technology standpoint of view, and how it could enable creative organizations, is we have made APIs and SDKs at this juncture. So everything is modular. Everything is very seamlessly integratable with the existing systems they have. First, that is number one. So the biggest challenge, of course, is the initial awareness, because this doesn't exist. So we are building. It's kind of building a category in a market segment. So that's where, the challenge, or the initial challenge is the awareness part of it, which I think we have been lucky enough with the kind of investors, advisors we have, to kind of open the doors for us to, with the right set of people, and of course our what do you call, background in this space. So step two is the technical conversation between the canvas as well as the organization. So for example, you take what do you call, media house X. So they are currently most of the media houses. When we go to read, let's say, Wall Street Journal or any of these publications, the first thing we see is, hey, to read it, you have to either subscribe for, let's say, X duration, or you will see some ads, and one of these you will surely stumble upon. Let it be Wall Street, New York Post, New York Times, whatever it is, right? So these are the only ways in which consumer can interact, and the organization has these kind of models today to make a consumer pay for the content. So what we go and tell them is, it's a proven what do you call, angle, where, around 5.1 or 5.2 percentage to 11 percentage, depending on the specific niche of the media industry, there is a churn of subscriptions, right? People who come, they're like, hey, no, I don't want to buy this. I don't want to subscribe for 1 week or 1 month, right? I just want to read that part. So there is a proven analysis of what that number is. So today, irrespective of whatever is happening, the number of platforms that are coming in, everyone is still focusing on the subscription angle. So still that 5 to 11% churn is untapped, and that, for any media organization, is a huge number of, even considering something which could enable it without disrupting their current flows. If something can enable that, if something can enable more interaction, more angle of instant gratification, or instant capturing that instant buying behavior of a consumer, then it doesn't hurt them to try something out. So that's where we sit and talk to the organization on what those kind of content which they have. And I think that has been a very interesting curve in step two, is defining those specific target group within that media organization itself, because they also don't want to confuse people by opening a new revenue channel, because it's a very tricky situation for them as well to just not take in a new what do you call, technology in place. It's even more challenging for them to put it out in their communication, and why they are doing that, right? So I think that step two is something which we do brainstorming, whiteboarding with the organization, and see what happens. And again, from step three, it's just the integration, and I think it's something which we have very extensive documentation to very well structured APIs we have. So I think that kind of sums up the process of integrating with a media house. And to address your question, the second question, which is I think you asked why, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the why part of it, I think it is still lies in the overall capturing the people who are running away from becoming a subscriber. So give them that extra choice of buying into what they need. And I think the one of the common thing which we find people in the creative organizations finding excited is, hey, we have been there. We have gone through some random article, and I want to read that article, and that's when this thing pops up of not letting me read that. So we know that feeling. So I think that's a familiar feeling which we are all aware of, which I think micro content monetization is kind of addressing that.
Very interesting. I'll pick your brains, Karki, a little bit, because when we were initially testing, in the beta versions of testing this, and we were talking to initial schools and media houses and production houses. One of the interesting use cases for our beta versions came from a media school that you were a part of, and you had a interactive session with the upcoming filmmakers and students, media professionals. My question is micro content monetization at this point in time for the creator economy. Why do we think that micro content monetization is the answer?
We just what Vignesh summarized beautifully. So how we consume things. We've started consuming things differently. We started. Uh, it's very simple. People start to go hire like offices, random offices for that one particular day. The days when they have work, they just go there, just get pay for that particular day. They work and then they come. So or they just only 3 days a week. They just book for 3 days a week. So they don't have to pay a rent for an office for an entire month where they're just going to be using it for one day. So the same thing applies for how we consume creativity and books and films. And so how many of you listening to this would have done this every day? So we start watching a movie on Netflix. We keep going on, and or 10th minute we decide this is not going to work for us. We stop it. But what
Yeah.
happens is we've paid for the entire month or the entire year. We've paid the entire subscription, and for a movie which we didn't like. Similarly, even if you rent, movies are available for rent on Apple TV and Amazon. And when you rent a movie, if you don't like the movie halfway through, you still have to pay the entire amount. Whatever it's paid is paid, it's gone, and you have to just watch it. So this is where micro monetization becomes a very friendly kind of a monetization way for both creators and also for the consumers at the same time. So it's two-way channel. So if people are reading just first 2 pages of your novel, they pay for the 2 pages. And
Yep.
it's like going to ice cream shop. This happens whenever I take a bunch of kids to ice cream shop. The kids go and ask for samples of all the ice creams, and they get samples of all the ice creams. They'll have around 20 varieties. They'll get taste all the 20 varieties, and then after tasting 20 varieties of small sticks of everything, they become too full, and they end up not paying for anything. So the kids are happy, but the shopkeeper is not. So now how so if the ice cream costs $100, why not charge a buck for a tasting? So this micro monetization, now the kids also have the responsibility that they're consuming something and they have to pay for that. Nothing's free. It's even
This
that.
is yeah, this is beautiful how you say it. Because um, this this particular context actually catches my attention, and this is so right? I mean, it's like tasting the flavors or smelling the food before actually tasting what's on your plate, or having a little bit of a flavor before consuming the entire meal. And what if in fact, this brings me to an interesting example. We were in a film school setting, and one of the filmmakers who's actually produced a film on YouTube, done wonderful numbers. She says that, and it's her first film, and I think the numbers went on to over 10 lakhs. And and she was actually teaching us, and she tells us that, it went on to my film, I did this and XYZ, and her film is called Chutney. And ultimately, McDowell's ended up producing it. But she told us something very interesting. She said that it has almost a crore views today on YouTube. And of course, she's possibly just, she has a pie out of, or, a pie out of that entire chunk. She has that share. But she was like, if what if there are times I think that, what if each of my viewer had paid me just 1 rupee, just 1 rupee,
Yeah.
what this could have been game changing.
Yeah.
And that, I feel, is the essence of our micro content
So this
monetization.
is where I have this question. I always have this question. When you say if each of them had paid 1 rupee, how many of them would have purchased? How many of that 1 crore would have come forward to pay and watch a content? How this is something a very serious question that we have to ask as a society, as a community. There are places where people respect art and they pay and they they enjoy the art. But there are places where people won't pay for something that they can't touch and feel. So if I can touch and feel a clothing or a toy or a glass or a spoon, I'll pay for that. If it is something digital, if let it be a movie, let it be a artwork, let it be a audio podcast, I want it free. So this is the mindset that we want this world to change. There are a lot of people who subscribe for real good content. We had a very beautiful discussion where Vignesh was mentioning about things which I've felt the same thing. It's not just about paying that money, it's about the time that it takes to do that particular thing for a subscription and thinking about like what it's going to happen. So randomly once in 6 months I get a interesting title that's of an article which appears on New York Times. So I go to the particular site and immediately it just says it's behind a paywall. And to do that, you have to just do a monthly subscription. And I think about immediately, I just come to this particular site once in 6 months. Why should I pay for a monthly subscription to read articles? Why can't I just pay for this article? If at that particular time I had this opportunity of pay a dollar or two to read this particular article, I would have done that immediately.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, coming to that example, and like you mentioned, I'm imagining a scenario for her where, in out of her 4-minute film, she would have just kept the 2 minutes, and at the intriguing peak point, she would have just sort of had that 1 rupee, whatever, the X amount that she wanted to as a creative
Yes.
individual. And that itself could be game changing, and
This
that is
becomes a very
our
interesting platform.
uh,
That's why, see, when people are invested 3 minutes into a movie and then they just want to watch the last minute, what happened? It creates that curiosity. You
yeah.
create that curiosity, and then you charge that thing. At least, I would not say 1 crore, but there is a possibility of even a 10% of people wanting to watch that. So that would have made a very big difference to her than whatever she um, gets.
True, absolutely. Any closing thoughts, Vignesh?
So I think absolutely in sync with what you guys are talking. I think for me, what interested me was when I came to the US, met this team from A16Z, and they had put forward this video. I think during pandemic or slightly before pandemic about China and the digital landscape. And I think Connie Chan, she talks about professors in China, where the key what they do is students they sit in the class, the notes, basically the key notes, the professor used to just sell those notes alone, and that professor became a millionaire in that year. So I think that was another interesting angle where this technology, as I think when me and Madan, I think we have still not yet we can proudly say that this is a very interesting idea we have been working on, but still we have not cracked the full depth of what this can kind of unveil the full potential of it. I think that's where me, especially between me and him, we have been discussing last 2 years. It's too many experiments we have been doing. We tried with actual creators, then immediately we'll be like, okay, businesses are interested, let's try doing one experiment with them. So we have been tapping, and we have learned a lot with how people perceive, in different domains of it, this Connie Chan, or let's say the professor example was another specificality of how the education space is looking like in the upcoming years. So there is a angle there, or how the other spaces, the fitness side of things, how people are very specific about, hey, I want to know something very specific to let's say a dietary preference. Now there are different ways or different domains or different spaces in the creative realm itself, how micro content can play in. And I think from my from for me here in the US, just seeing the challenges and the interesting landscape of creator based companies, or creator economy companies is just very interesting. And I think it's a good time to be exploring this idea, and the kind of opportunities we have, because our technology is also patented, and we have that originality somehow, because we have come in early. So I think we have that edge over to experiment more. So I'm just excited to experiment and see where it takes us.
No, in fact, the beauty lies in the experimentation, I would say. And in fact, particularly with Canvas, I can definitely say so that as time progresses, and as people, we've seen multiple media communities, creator communities try it, experiment with it, give us feedback, and then enhance it further. So, the beauty of it is that it unravels, slowly, and it has grown into what it has, and it's beautiful, making it clearly a win-win for both creatives and
Yeah,
users.
I
And
think.
of course, bridging that gap between the creative bit and the sustainability of the creator community bit. Yeah,
Yeah,
sorry.
absolutely. And I think for us, I think this marks November marks a proper 2 year experiment. So one of the things which I
Absolutely.
think me and Madan we have also done is we have learned a lot. I think as a team, as we have experimented in every domains of it, like operationally, technology wise, from talking to the diverse sector of the market segment itself. So I think right now we are very clear of the kind of partnerships we have. We are currently conversing with the kind of potential this technology has. So now it's going to be something very specific. Starting end of this year or early of 2024, it's going to be a very focused approach. And I think we are super excited for all the partnership, the conversations we are going through right now. And I think it's going to be a very interesting time to see how this technology is used by many more people. So I think that's what it's exciting me and Madan, right now with what we have built at so far.
Intrigued as I am, and intrigued as I was always. But thank you, both of you, for those illuminating insights. And for all of you listening in, stay tuned for more valuable discussions on micro content monetization and the creator economy. We'll see you next time on our LinkedIn Live. And yeah, have a wonderful evening. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Thank you, Ashika. Thanks, Vignesh. And thank you all.
Thank you, everyone.